What's up, my friend? David Moss Jr. here, and in today's video, I'm gonna help you decide which one of the Coldture inflatable cold plunges is best for you. Over here, we have the Classic, we have the Barrel, and we have the Barrel Light. And in this video, we're gonna go over the differences between all three of these to help make your decision that much easier. We've got a lot to go over, so let's jump right into it. Now, the first one we're gonna talk about is the Classic, and I will go ahead and warn you, if you do decide to purchase any of these, if you use the link in the description of this video, it will automatically apply a discount code to it. So the prices I'm gonna talk about in this video will be assuming you use my link, which will also use my code. So with that being said, Coldture is a Canadian-based company. So if you go on their website, a lot of things are in centimeters and a lot of things are in Canadian dollars. I have a large audience in America, so I'm gonna talk about American dollars. This cold plunge, the Classic, is currently listed at $727, assuming you use my link, which will give you my discount code. Without the code, it's gonna cost you a little over $1,000 American. So you can see there's a little bit of value in using my links and codes, saves you a little bit of money, also helps support the channel, so I'm super grateful for that. So let's go ahead and talk about the Classic. Obviously, you see the entire thing is inflatable, which means it's also portable. This comes in a backpack. The backpack also has a pump, and that entire setup can be brought anywhere that you want. Now, none of the cold plunges I'm gonna go over today are going to include a chiller. If you want the chiller, the Coldture Chiller Pro is great. It is more money, so obviously, if you do decide to go with that, it's gonna cost more than $727, but my discount will work with that as well. And I have videos on the Coldture Chiller I definitely encourage you to look at. Actually, I'll have them linked at the end of this video so you can get more information on the chiller. But for time's sake, I wanna keep this video short and sweet and really talk about the differences of all of the tub options you can choose from. So with that being said, this is the Classic. The Classic comes with an inflatable lid. Because the entire tub has 4 inches of air insulation, you can use just ice with this. You can connect it to a chiller as well. A few caveats to that I'm gonna go over here in a second. But let's talk about the lid here for a second. We inflate this with a pump. It does have 4 buckles, 2 on the front and 2 on the back, so you can take off and remove the lid. I'm gonna set it off on the back side here. Inside the tub, it is more of your horizontal lay down tub. So when you get inside this thing, I'm 6'1", about 210 pounds. I wanna say that for reference so you can see I'm 6'1", 210 pounds, how it looks when I get inside each of these tubs. So when you get inside here, one of the things I love about an inflatable, there's no jagged edges, there's nothing sharp. It's a very comfortable and soft experience. I don't have any water in here right now, but you can see that I have plenty of room. I can rest my neck back here. I can have my knees and my legs crossed up. I can have my legs fully extended out. There's a lot of room in this cold plunge. The Classic is a classic for a reason, and it is one of the most purchased cold plunges on the market today. One of the things I really like about Coldture is you'll notice the colors and aesthetics. It's black, it looks really good. It's not white, which means a lot of times if you use a white inflatable, the sun will do some damage to it. The black has held up really, really nice. Actually, this is brand new, and my Barrel is brand new, but my Barrel Light I've had outside exclusively for, it's probably been close to a year now, and I'll show you that here in a second, but it hasn't changed color at all, which is impressive. A lot of the lighter colored inflatables I've played with have changed colors because of the Florida sun. But the black looks really good. At the very bottom, it has a really nice pop of blue, which is cool. You can see if there's any frogs or debris or anything at the bottom that you're gonna wanna clean out before you jump in. Now, speaking of inside, let's go ahead and talk about the inside dimensions. So, we'll go length first. We're looking at about 55 inches long. We're looking at about 23 inches wide. And from the bottom, we're looking at about 26 inches to the top. Now, one thing you're gonna wanna note is you're never gonna wanna fill your cold plunge all the way up to the tippy top, because when you get in, the water will drain out. And if you put ice in there, that ice will drain out really fast. It'll overflow over the sides here. So there is actually a min and a max line inside of this tub you're gonna see there. The min is the lowest amount of water you're gonna want in there if you're connected to a chiller before you turn the chiller on. The max is the most water you're gonna want in there based off of average displacement. You'll also notice that the hole where the water would go into a chiller is just underneath the minimum water requirement, and then the hole where the water comes back out of the chiller is just under the max. But if you are purchasing one of these tubs and you do not have any plans of using a chiller in the very beginning, you do need to purchase 3/4 inch NPT plugs so that the water doesn't drain all over your floor. One more thing people are probably gonna wanna know is how much water will this hold? So it doesn't list online. So I'm just doing some simple math here, taking the inches and trying to figure out the formula to figure out gallons. I'm gonna say a rough estimate here based off my calculations is about 110 gallons of water is what this would hold. Some people care about that, most people don't. Just throw your hose in there, fill it up with water, call it a day. But if you do have a very specific area and you are gonna need to figure out the weight, I would recommend basing this off of about 110 gallons of water plus your body weight. The tub itself is super light. It's filled with air. I would say it weighs probably 10 pounds, 20 pounds. There's really no weight to it, but this is the classic tub. I will give you the final exterior dimensions as well. I think that's important. We're looking at a length of about 63 inches, a width of about 30.5, and the height before the lid, we're looking at about 27.5 inches. Once again, and I think I mentioned this, the entire thing has about 4 inches of air insulation. About a year ago, me and my wife actually did an experiment where we put the same amount of ice and the same amount of water in every cold plunge that we had out here. And the inflatable actually did a pretty good job keeping the water cold for a long period of time just using ice. And I wanna say that the air insulation and the insulated lid played a huge role in that. We spent a lot of time looking at the front, but I do think it's important to talk about the back. These are the two plugs I was talking about. Now, obviously it's easy to see them on the inside, but on the outside, it's even easier to see them on the back. You have an in and you have an out. These are where you're gonna need that 3/4 inch thread, NPT, so that you can plug these up if you're gonna be using water and ice. But also back here is where you're going to pump this up. Because it is inflatable, you will have a pump. That pump will be required to pump the air into this. It is a little bit different than a typical tube. If you've never used an inflatable paddleboard or something like that, that is very similar to what this is. Actually, it's exactly what this is. So there is an air lock and release right down here. If you push it, it'll let a little bit of air out. If you push and twist it, it'll allow all the air to come out. Make sure that it's locked before you pump it up with air, and then take your lid or your cover and just turn it on to prevent anything from accidentally hitting that. So you'll pump this up. You'll also pump the lid up. The lid pumps up the exact same way, and it's over here on the edge. Now, there is one thing I want to point out about the Classic you should definitely know, and you should consider before purchasing it. Yes, there's a lot of room. It's very comfortable. It's a lay down style cold plunge, but when you do fill it up with water, even with all of the structure and insulation, sometimes the middle will bow out just a little bit and the lid sits on top of it right now. But one of the things I've also realized, and a lot of people have come to realize, is there's no skirting. So if you live somewhere where you have a lot of frogs and different critters and things that like water, bugs too, you will get bugs and frogs in your cold plunge without a doubt. I mean, you can strap it down and you can lock this down as tight as possible, but there is still a gap. Things can still get into your cold plunge. It's not likely, it's not as bad as having it completely exposed at all, obviously, but that is something to point out. There's no skirting that's going to prevent fallout, bugs, dirt, debris, and even rainwater from getting into your cold plunge. It's not a huge issue, but I definitely think it's worth pointing out. So this is the Classic. I do want to do one final test in all of these. I'm 6'1", 210 pounds. I've said that a few times, but a lot of people are going to want to dunk and get fully submerged. I can already tell you, like, I'm sitting in this thing. It's up to my chin with me sitting straight up. It's a pretty tall cold plunge, and because it's horizontal, there's a lot of room for my legs in this. This would be the easiest. If you're somebody who wants easy access to getting fully underwater, which submerging means just getting fully underwater like this, this is a for sure. Like, a for sure win. Also, if you have a spouse that wants to cold plunge with you, or your kids are gonna wanna get in with you, this is a really great option. We have had some really great times together as a family cold plunging together, and it's really hard to do that on the uprights, but I'll kind of show you that. You'll get to see the other two here in a second. But if you're somebody who is gonna be doing tandem cold plunges, if you're somebody who wants to get fully underwater, maybe you're a little bit larger and you want more of a comfortable, spacious cold plunge, this is the one for you. And for $727, it's a great cold plunge to get started with. And because it has a 3-year warranty, it'll last you a long time. All right, now let's jump over and look at the barrel. Now we're gonna look at the barrel. The crazy thing is the barrel and the Classic both cost $727. So it's not a budget thing. If you're looking at either of these, it really comes down to, do you like to lay down or do you like to squat in? Active pose, passive pose. That's what a lot of people talk about. But let's talk about the barrel specifically. So like I said, using my link and discount code, it is $727, a little bit more if you decide not to, and that does not come with a chiller. But you can clearly see there's some pretty big differences. This is gonna be more of an upright active pose, meaning you're gonna get into the water and you're going to squat into it. You'll be in an active pose the entire time. Whereas when you're in the Classic, it's more of a tub style. You're in a little bit more of a passive pose. So a couple key differences right out of the gate is getting into this cold plunge is going to be different. It comes with a step. Now this step is collapsible, so if you are taking this with you, all you have to do is fold it all up. Everything goes together like this, and you have a little pancake. So you could take that with you. It just folds all out like an accordion, kind of. Pretty easy. And then boom, now we've got our step. You can put that step anywhere that you want. You do have 4 buckles around the lid. The lid is also gonna have 4 inches of insulation. It is gonna have that same signature classic black look that people just love about Coldture with that pop of blue on the lid. The lid is inflatable. The entire tub itself is inflatable. So if you are traveling with this, you can take this with you too. Now, real quick, let's just talk about getting into it. So the steps are pretty sturdy. Like obviously when you look at it, it's a little sketch. It could be a little scary, but it's not too bad. I don't have any water in this thing, so it's scarier. When you have water in it, it becomes a lot more stable. So it's a little different for me right now as I'm getting into this thing completely dry, but you'll get to see the size of it. You'll get to see the layout and kind of how it looks for me to get in. So then you can decide how it looks for you. So as I'm standing up in this thing, the actual cold tub comes up to my waist. So one thing a lot of people don't talk about enough is like, if you invest in a cold plunge, you don't have to like get your entire body in it like every time. Like you can use it almost as an ice pack. My kids do competitive cheerleading and sometimes their ankles hurt or their knees hurt and they don't want to get fully wet or get their hair wet. So they'll just get into a cold plunge with just like whatever is injured. And having a taller one like this kind of makes it nice because most injuries are going to happen from the hips down. So just wanted to point that out there. We found ourselves using this style cold plunge for situations like that. On the inside, same thing, that beautiful pop of blue at the bottom, which it looks really cool when this is full of water. You still have your minimum and maximum line. You do still have the 2 holes on the inside, which will connect to the Coldture chiller or any chiller that you want. Or if you decide you want to just use water and ice, you do still need to get 2 3/4 inch NPT plugs for this. I am noticing at the bottom down here, it seems to be a little pre-filter to kind of prevent maybe your finger or your toe or your hair or something from getting sucked into the chiller. That looks new. I haven't seen that before. So that's pretty cool. And then just a quick demonstration of me dunking into this thing. I do really still like the soft edges of the inflatable. Some of the barrels I've been in that aren't made of the same material can get a little sharp around the edges. I've done a lot of videos on the Ice Barrel 400, which is one of the original barrels. And for some reason, the inside edge of that thing is razor sharp. I've actually cut my back on that thing just getting out of it. So it's nice to not have to worry about anything like that. You've got a really comfortable cold plunge. I'm down into like somewhat of a squat. And another thing to consider is when you have water in these things, so you might think, I don't want to hold a squat the whole time I'm cold plunging. You're really not, because you're buoyant. You're kind of more just like holding yourself floating in the position that's comfortable for you. And you can sit cross-legged as well. There's a lot of different ways to use these barrels. And I want to measure it real quick just to kind of tell you, there's a lot of room in this. It's really, really wide, which is really nice. Let me get out of this thing and we're going to do the measurements here. As far as total volume, this is going to be a little less volume than the classic. I'm going to estimate about 100 gallons, maybe 95 to 100 gallons of water inside this one. And it does take up a smaller footprint. So if I was looking somewhere and I'm like, hey, this is a good spot for a cold plunge and it's a corner, this is probably going to be the best bet because it is round and it would fit into a corner really, really well and take up really no space. You can use the steps or you can move the steps out of the way. That's obviously up to you, but the good news is you can move them anywhere you want. They're not hard fixed to this barrel, which is nice. If I had a flat wall, obviously this would still look good there, but I think the classic would probably be better for like that flat wall look because it's a little bit lower, kind of sits under a windowsill or something like that. You got to think about these things. I have a lot of people that'll send me messages with videos and pictures of their space and they're like, hey David, I know you have a bunch of different things and you reviewed them all. What would look best here? And it's really fun walking people through and talking them through what would really look best and function best for them. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. A lot of people do. I love helping people. I don't charge you for that. It's not something that I charge for. I get paid to review these products and that's how I make my living. I review products, you buy the products, you use my code, I get a commission. It's great for me and I love that I'm not exclusive with anybody. I can literally review all of the best options out there. So that's been my thing and I've really, really enjoyed it. And it's because of you that I'm able to do this. So thank you so much for watching these videos. Thank you for liking and commenting and sharing and subscribing. All of that means the world to me. I can keep doing this and it's a lot of freaking fun. So now let's talk about the barrels build. It's very similar. A lot of this is overlap. We have a 3-year warranty. It's very similar build to the classic. A lot of the stuff we already talked about. You do have 4 buckles around that will hold this lid on. This lid is inflatable. It does only go on one way. The buckles are cut into a position where they actually only go on one way. If you try to put it on like this, you're gonna be stretching those buckles. This is how it goes. You will also notice, same thing as the classic, there's no skirting. So that can be a bad thing. I mean, that can be a good or a bad thing. I'm just gonna be totally transparent with you. If you live somewhere like me in Florida, we have a lot of bugs. We have a lot of critters that like to get into water. When you don't have skirting on your lids and you don't have the straps pulled really, really tight, things can get in there. Some rainwater can get in there. So you definitely have to keep that in mind. It's not a deal killer, but it is something to consider. I want you to know that that is something that you should consider. If you are using water and ice, the lid, even though it doesn't fully seal and have a skirt around it, it still does a great job of insulating and keeping your water temperature cold for a long period of time. You could pretty much expect, obviously there's a lot of variables, but you could pretty much expect to use water and ice in this, keeping your water cold for maybe 2, possibly 3 days, depending on your ambient temperature. And you've probably noticed there's a lot of people who have posted videos and pictures of them cold plunging through the winters in Canada, and they use the inflatable. So the inflatables are durable enough to be left outside in the summer of Florida and Arizona, but also the winters of upper Canada where it freezes over. It's been really cool to see how durable these are. So that's another really cool positive to buying an inflatable like this, is it's lower on the end of investment, but it's durable enough to last years, which is really cool. So once again, to recap, $727 for the barrel, $727 for the classic. The major difference here is more volume in the classic, but it's more of that horizontal laydown style, a little bit less volume, more of that upright style. Two totally different looks. Both look great. But now let's talk about the most budget-friendly cold plunge that Coldture offers, and also one of my personal favorite. It's called the Barrel Light, and let's check it out. And before we jump over to the Coldture Light, obviously the dunk test, I almost forgot, but this one's like a shoe-in. You can literally cross your legs and be completely underwater. You can just sit here with a snorkel. So if you're somebody who wants to just casually and easily sit underwater doing a full dunk, there's probably not gonna be a better option than this, solo. But I don't think you're gonna fit more than one person in here, and if you do, it's gonna be really, really tight. I'd like to see you do it. All right, so last and actually least. This is the least expensive, the most budget-friendly option that Coldture has, and it's probably one of the most underrated cold plunges on the market. I'll say that. I've said it on stories on Instagram, I've said it on reels and posts, I've said it on YouTube videos. If you're out in the market right now and you're looking to get into cold plunging and you don't want to spend a ton of money, you just want to see if it's something worth getting into, bypass those silly little stilted ones that you see at like Dick's Sporting Goods and Costco and go for this one. I'll go over why, but I think you'll understand when I get into it. The first thing is, using my link and code in the description, it's only $363 American. A little more than that if you don't want discounts, but if you use the discount, $363 gets you into this cold plunge. And one of the things I didn't go over with the other two is I want to go over what you actually get with these two. Because yes, you get the barrels or the tub, yes, you get the lid, but there's a few other things you get too, and I'll go over that at the end. But I want to really focus in on the Barrel Light and why I think it's one of the cold plunges I recommend the most to people getting into cold plunging. Well, first thing you're going to notice, it's tiny. Once again, 6'1", 210 pounds. I have videos, I have used this, I've tested this thing out for I think well over a year now, and I can get in this thing comfortably and I can get fully underwater. So a couple things you're also going to probably notice, and I've said it a few times as I've reviewed these other two, this one actually does have a skirt, and I don't use it all the time. Like, it's not the easiest thing to get on. Actually, it's kind of difficult to get on, but it does have a skirt. So it may not be the easiest thing to put on, but it does have one. So if you are going to be decommissioning this thing, or if you're going to be going on vacation, is typically when I would put the skirt all the way around this thing. It literally seals everything out. But there is a little tip here. So if you're going on vacation or something, or you're not going to be using it for a few days, but you don't want to turn everything off and drain it, that's typically what I do. I leave my things on all the time, is deflate the bottom by maybe like just a little bit, just enough to where you have some give, and with the water in there, it's going to hold itself out. And then putting the skirt around the entire thing becomes a lot easier, and you really don't even need the buckles at that point because it's literally on super tight. It keeps all the bugs, all the frogs, all the debris, any rain out of this cold plunge. And the lid is a little bit thinner, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this lid off, right? So you got the skirt, you've got the 4 buckles, that's great, but we're gonna take this lid off and just set it off to the side. The tub itself takes up less of a footprint, but it also has a little less insulation. I've noticed that it doesn't make a massive difference on keeping the water cold. It makes a little bit of a difference, I'm sure, but not a real noticeable difference. Once again, I live in Florida. It's always 90 to 100 degrees and super humid out here, but it does have a little less insulation. But what that means is it takes up less room outside, but it doesn't take less room on the inside. Actually, let's go ahead and measure this thing. So talking about the inside measurements, 30 inches, not bad. From the bottom to the top, also 30 inches. So we're talking 30 inches by 30 inches. That's the inside. On the outside, we're looking at 34.5 inches. And from the floor to the top, I think I've been pretty clear, they're about the same, 30.5 inches, right? So doesn't take up a massive footprint. It's low enough to where you don't need a step. You can literally just step right on into this thing, and you can squat right down. And you see me in this thing. Like, I'm the same size person you've seen in all of these, and this is very similar to the Classic as far as where my eyes are seeing outside of this thing. As a matter of fact, I think it's actually taller than the Classic. I'm gonna put both of these next to each other and just do some real side-by-side comparisons to really make it easy, make your choice easy on which one of these three you wanna go with. But it's round, it's comfortable, it's soft. I can rest and relax my head. It's a very comfortable cold plunge. And when there is water in this and the water's up to the brim because I have displaced it and pushed the water up, getting fully underwater, doing a dunk, it's definitely not gonna be as easy as the other two, but it is possible. Like, you just tilt your head off to the side. It's kind of similar to the Ice Barrel 300 if you've ever been in one of those. I would say there's actually a little bit more room in this thing, but it's kind of similar to that. All three of these have the exact same setup. They're chiller ready. They have the minimum and maximum lines in here. You've got the holes on the back that are 3/4 inch thread. NPT, you do need a plug if you're gonna use this with water and ice, but if you are gonna use a chiller, it comes with everything that you need if you buy the Coldture chiller for all three of these. Has the same material, the same look, black with the pop of blue at the bottom. Looks really, really good. And once again, I've had this one for, I wanna say over a year. I should probably verify that. But if you go back in and look at my Coldture playlist, you'll see when I reviewed this originally. I wanna say it's been a year, maybe even a little bit longer than a year, and it still looks great, and I don't take great care of it. And since we've talked about the estimated gallons of all of these, this one here estimates about 80 gallons of water. So less water, which some people might think that's a bad thing, but if you are using ice, it's a good thing. Less water that you're gonna have to cool down, so you're gonna be spending less money on ice. So all in all, if I was somebody watching this video and I was considering one of these three styles of tub and I wasn't gonna buy a chiller yet and I was gonna be using water and ice, if I could fit in it, this would be the for sure winner. This would be the one that I would get. If I was taller or I wanted to snorkel and get under the water and stay there for a long period of time and I was a little bit limber, I would definitely go with the barrel. The barrel's taller. You are gonna need to be a little bit limber to get up and in it. It is gonna take a little bit of an effort to get inside it and to get out of it. The other two are super easy to get in and out. And if I was somebody just new to cold plunging, I just wanted a tub, something that I could dedicate as my cold plunge, as my sanctuary, it would be the Classic. The Classic is just an easy cold plunge for people to fall in love with. And before we do a final recap on all three of these, this is what you'll get with all three of these. You get this really nice backpack. This is what everything would come in. So the backpack is not really a backpack. It's more of like a cold plunge pack. I guess you could use this as a backpack or a duffel bag to travel with, which is cool, but it's really meant to hold your tubs when you're traveling. You also get a Coldture pump. Now this pump is an inflatable and a deflate. So you can take this little hose off and actually deflate it, sucking all of the air out. And if you are gonna be traveling with this thing, you are gonna wanna take advantage of that feature. It'll suck every last drop of air out. And when you do that, the way these are packaged is it would kind of fold itself back into the same stance that it was in when it was delivered. So you do get a pump, which is nice. It's a pretty easy and pretty fast pump, dual action pump. And this is the little locking mechanism that's gonna lock into the cold plunge. So pumping it up goes a little bit faster. I'm not sure if you're gonna get this with every one. I got this with the last one they sent me, so just curious. This is a ball joint, which will close off the water at the bottom. So if you are gonna be using water and ice, if it does come with this, great. If not, this is kind of what you're gonna wanna buy, and it's super hot right now because it's been left out, but it's a 3/4 inch NPT ball joint, screws into the bottom. You can close it, cutting off the water, or open it to drain the water out. Really cool that it comes with one, but if you are gonna be using water and ice, you will need two. So none of these are gonna come perfectly ready for you to fill up with water and ice. You are gonna wanna order some plugs. 3/4 inch NPT plugs is what you're gonna want, but they're more affordable than most of the other options on the market. If you're going with a chiller, I have tried to kill the Coldture chiller and I have been unsuccessful. It also heats the water up. If you live somewhere where it's cold and it kind of gets to that freezing level and you want your cold plunge to always be at that right temperature, having the heating component is great. You can also turn your cold plunge into a hot plunge. We've done that plenty of times and the kids love doing that. But like I said, I have an entire video dedicated to the Coldture chiller. I even have one of the founders rip it apart and show me how everything inside works. It was super impressive. I'm gonna have that linked at the end of this video and I definitely encourage you to check that one out. But now let's do a final recap of these three options. So there we have it, my friends. The Classic, the Barrel, and the Barrel Light. Which one of these three options is best for you? I'm actually genuinely curious which one of these three you would choose, or if you have one of these three and you just watch this video to get a little bit more information out of it maybe, or if you have any questions that maybe I didn't go over in this video and you're like, David, that was good, but you didn't go over this, pop them down in the comments below. I read every question and comment. I love responding and helping people. So if you have a great question, pop it down there so that way other people can see the same question and maybe get that answer as well. Because because if you're thinking it, someone else is probably thinking it. I want you to know that I really appreciate you watching. I really appreciate the opportunity to help you decide which cold plunge is best for you. And once again, if you have any questions, let me know. Follow me on Instagram and ask any questions there. Some people don't feel comfortable asking questions on a YouTube video, but they have no problem DMing me on Instagram. It's at DMossJr. Feel free to reach out to me there. I love helping people. I think I've made that clear. And I want you to know that I appreciate you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day, my friends, and God bless.